Mikko Rantanen is gonna get paid, and he wasn't even the best Mikko in this game. Avs lose to the Edmonton Oilers 6-4. This was generally just kind of a weird game where the scoreboard didn't really accurately reflect what was going on the ice. First of all, the Avs just ran into an absolute brick wall in Mikko Koskinen in goal for Edmonton, and that's really the big factor in this game. The Avs looked like the better team for the majority of the first period, getting more chances and better quality ones, but Koskinen just wouldn't let anything by him. Through the first, for a lot of it, Edmonton relied mostly on McDavid to generate their offense. In fact, he would hit 3 posts in this game for them. So yeah, not only is the 6 on the scoreboard involved with him, but he was doing pretty much everything. When you're controlling play, but you end up with nothing to show for it, you can kind of feel it coming back the other way. The Avs take a penalty in the latter half of the first period. While they don't give up a goal directly on it, it does eventually lead to one. Puck gets carried in by Edmonton and dumped in deep, and for some reason the Avs leave Nurse totally uncovered as he collects the puck behind the net. From there, they allow him to just go all the way around the net, still with no pressure, as Zadorov opts to stand out in front of the net. That's kind of alright, as you're going to see Nurse come around and fire a shot onto Varley. Varley makes the save cleanly. The problem is here, Zadorov has selected his spot to stay in front of the net. That means he has to hold this spot down and make sure nothing gets through that area. The rebound comes out. Zadorov is not able to get to it, gets beat to it by Brodziak, and he beats Varley. Once again, the Avs defense was pretty sloppy into this one. Not as bad as last game, maybe, but there were still far too many mistakes for comfort. And when they're firing on all cylinders, they can get away with that defensive sloppiness, but when they can't beat a goalie and their goalie isn't looking so hot, yeah, it's going to end poorly. Despite the quality offensive play from the Avs, they end the first down 1-0. It doesn't take long into the second period to realize that Koskinen just has it right now, and the Avs couldn't beat him no matter what. As the game wears on, you can start to see the Avs offense getting frustrated more and more, and they start not being able to hold the puck in offensively as well on top of that. That eventually leads the Avs spending too much time in the D zone, which leads to penalties, which leads to Edmonton goals off the Avs' sloppiness. The Avs have already failed to clear the puck roughly 10 times on this power play. On this possession, it's probably about 3. Edmonton's just going to work the puck back out high here and then use some passing to pick the Avs apart. You're going to see Cole get caught extremely deep here. There's not really anyone for him to cover on this side of the ice as Calvert is already taking his man in the slot. So you'd like to see him maybe be a bit more aggressive on McDavid carrying the puck, that forcing him to make a play or something like that. EJ's in a tough spot here because he does have to stick back and cover the man coming in down right in front of Varley, but that leaves basically no one covering Nugent Hopkins as Nieto is out up high. That means that this pass coming from McDavid needs to not get through to Nugent Hopkins. Unfortunately, it does. Granted, an unbelievable pass by McDavid through some legs leaves plenty of room for Nugent Hopkins. Varley actually almost gets over to him, and honestly, this is one that I often expect him to stop, but it just manages to go right through his armpit. So at that point, you're not happy, but you feel like if you can just beat this goalie once, you can get yourself back into this game and easily score a bunch. The Avs offense keeps pushing, but they just cannot solve Koskinen. The dude is just flailing all over the place and still manages to make every single save. It was ridiculous. Every time the Avs don't score in this game, their defensive sloppiness hurts them. This time is no different. The defenseman culprit this time is Tyson Barrie, who collects the puck, opts to skate it out himself, and just gets picked clean by Lucic. From there, you're going to see Lucic hit Nugent Hopkins way up high, and Cole kind of gets caught in the middle again here. He's got to cover his man down low, but also giving plenty of room for Nugent Hopkins to walk in. He basically kind of gets himself flat-footed where he can't challenge Nugent Hopkins to cover his man, so Nugent just uses him as a screen on Varley and beats him clean on the blocker side. From there, Bednar opts to pull Varley. You could probably put one of those goals on him, but You know, it wasn't that awful of a game for him. To be fair, though, Varley has struggled quite a bit lately. Now, this is 100% hindsight, and I don't know if leaving Varley in would have changed the outcome at all, but putting Grubauer in definitely didn't help the Avs. Less than 2 minutes after entering the game, Grubauer gives one up. If you ask defenders around the league if they've been burned by Connor McDavid's speed, I imagine quite a few of them would raise their hands. Patrick Nemeth can add himself to that list here as he's backpedaling on an Edmonton breakout. McDavid is already ahead of all of the Avs forwards here. A nice lead pass by Draisaitl off the backhand to hit him, and actually he flipped it over Nemeth's stick, so it's a really great pass. But McDavid on a partial breakaway from there. He doesn't even do anything too fancy here and opts to go 5-hole. Grubauer, cold off the bench, can't manage to close it. And that pretty much was the nail in the coffin for this game. You were ready to throw in the towel. There were only a few things you were looking for from that point, that being Mikko Rantanen trying to keep his point streak and the Avs beating this goalie in any capacity at all. Thankfully, both of those things would happen just 45 seconds after that goal. There's nothing special about this play. Barrie just feeds Rantanen in the neutral zone, who walks in with the puck and decides to fire a shot. This isn't a weapon we've seen Rantanen use this much this year. I think his wrist shot is maybe one of his most underrated skills. He often uses the one-timer, as we see, and has clearly stepped up as an incredible passer this year. But when he picks his spot on his wrist shot, it usually goes where he wants it to, and he fires this one off of the outside post and in. So it kind of felt like a consolation prize, but it was nice to see Rantanen keep his point streak going and pick up a point to keep that points lead against guys like McDavid. And just in case you thought this could spark something for the Avs, the Edmonton Oilers immediately respond with a goal of their own to shut anything down. Avs are going to lose a defensive zone puck battle as it comes out on the far side of Grubauer. A shot comes in that Grubauer actually initially makes the save on, a good one on a man cutting through the middle, but you're going to then see Grubauer do Grubauer things. Not able to find his rebound at all. It gets poked at multiple times before eventually coming loose and knocked in by Draisaitl. It's pretty tough to win a game without both defense and goaltending. Most nights the Avs usually get at least one of those, and that gives them a chance to win. They just didn't have it tonight, and for most of the game they couldn't even score either, so tough one. Down 5-1 heading into the third. Most of it was pretty academic from here. The Avs would pad their stats on the power play a little bit early, though. Landeskog is going to hit Rantanen in the down low spot here, and Rantanen is going to work in behind the nets. You don't see people use this area very well that often anymore, especially the Avs in recent years, but Rantanen is really provided from down there. He can make passes that we haven't seen for a long time. To be honest, he is given a pretty easy one here. A big old gap to hit Wilson, who has found a soft spot in the D here. Goes right to him, and Wilson has consistently ripped these into the back of the net, and this one's no different. Edmonton was already sitting back heavily at that point, but the Avs wanted to make sure that they had no chance coming back by taking a penalty, and Edmonton would convert. Edmonton would just work a low to high kind of deal here. It heading back to Nurse now. He would drop it off to the half boards. From there, the puck gets walked in before drop pass back to Nurse, who now has a ton of space to work with. He just winds up to fire a shot here. You can see a little bit of contact with Grubauer happening in front here as the shot comes through. Seems to just have eyes, find its way through everyone and into the net. Avs would challenge that play for goalie interference, and ultimately it was ruled a good goal, and I think that's the correct call. There was a little bit of contact with Grubauer, but I don't think it was really enough to throw him off from being able to make the save. For the most part, the Avs would spend the rest of the third just going through the motions to get rid of this game and be done with it. Any good quality chances they got would continue to be absolutely stoned by Koskinen. You just want to get away from that guy. Eventually, though, the Avs continue to send the top line out there, and Rantanen decides that he's not comfortable with a point lead of only 3. He's going to need a bit more than that. And even against a goalie that seems to absolutely have the Avs number, he just manages to put pucks in the back of the net one way or another. This looks like a goal we see gets scored against the Avalanche a lot. McKinnon wins a face-off clean that Rantanen's going to collect and just fire a shot towards the net. It looks like a bit of a set play as Landy does cut directly in front to screen here, and the puck does end up nicking off of his body body somewhere by the looks of it and gets past Koskinen clean. While he couldn't go full Peter Forsberg and put the team on his back enough to come back and win this game, Rantanen really wants to make $10 million on his next contract. He wasn't even done either, deciding to add one more point in the last few minutes of the game. Some beautiful passing here by the Avs. MacKinnon's just going to go over to Rantanen here, and given how good he's playing this year, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt that this was a pass all the way. He fires a pass, almost a shot pass, right across the crease to Landeskog, slipping in on the back door, and Landy just has to angle his stick for this one for it to go into the net. He scores goals with his shots, he creates goals with his passes, he even creates goals with his shot passes. The dude just does everything offensively. It was already a 4-point night for him, and he almost made it a 5-point night, but would hit the post in the dying seconds of the game. I think Rantanen has led the league in points for about a month and a half straight now, or something crazy like that. He currently leads by 5 points. In second place is Nathan MacKinnon, who has held down that spot pretty well. At this point, he's tied with Kucherov at 47 points, but Kucherov has played 2 more games than both MacKinnon and Rantanen, so Kucherov doesn't really feel like a threat much to Rantanen's reign at the top here. Behind that is McDavid at 45 points, who's played the same amount of games as Rantanen, so even he's 7 points back. As long as Rantanen can stay healthy, the Art Ross is his to lose, and that's something special in its own. There's only ever been one other Av to win that trophy, and that's the man that Rantanen has been drawing a lot of comparisons to this season in Peter Forsberg. Rantanen's 4 points didn't get the Avs much ultimately tonight, but you can't really blame it on him. The Avs goaltending just wasn't there. At this point, the offense just isn't a concern for the Avs. They're scoring 4 goals on a goalie that spent most of the game absolutely stonewalling them. So you just have to not worry about that part of the game and hope they focus in, shore up their issues on defense, and then find a way to get their goalies out of this funk. Even a solid goalie performance is going to get them wins with the way their offense is playing. The Avs do go out on the road for 1 game now and then come back for a long homestand where hopefully they can tighten up all the bolts and start locking down wins again. That is the end of this game video review. Thank you for watching, and once again, a very special thank you to all of the contributors on both Patreon and through PayPal. I really appreciate the donations a lot, and if you are someone that really likes my content, consider throwing a couple bucks my way to help make it better. I'm Rudo3, and play AJ Greer more than 6 minutes next game.